The rain came down in gray sheets as Sarah tightened her grip on her son's tiny hand. Lucas, only 6 years old, clutched a worn-out superhero lunchbox and tried his best to keep up, hopping puddles in his too small shoes. The hallway of the downtown law firm was hushed, the scent of fresh coffee and copier ink lingering in the air as they reached the back office. "Mommy, will I get to color at your desk again today?" Lucas asked, hopeful. "Only for a little while, sweetheart," Sarah whispered, crouching to zip up his soaked jacket. "And you have to be very, very quiet, remember?" Lucas nodded solemnly. He was used to this by now. Sarah had no choice. Daycare had become unaffordable ever since her husband had walked out, leaving nothing but a note and an empty joint bank account. She worked overtime as an assistant for a large law firm, always the first to arrive and last to leave. But when her babysitter canceled last minute again, she faced the impossible decision: miss work or bring Lucas. She chose to bring him. For the third time that month. It wasn't long before her manager noticed. Mr. Greer, a man with an ice-chip smile and a Rolex that gleamed like judgment, didn't wait for an explanation. "This is a professional environment," he said coldly that morning, standing with arms crossed. "It's not a daycare. Pack your things. You're done here." Her mouth went dry. She tried to speak, to explain, but her words fell into the silent corridor like broken glass. Lucas peeked out from behind the desk, confusion in his wide brown eyes. "Mommy," he whispered. She packed her things, one hand on his shoulder, fighting tears. No goodbyes. No thank you for the 3 years of loyal service. Just an exit through the same hallway where she'd once walked with pride. Weeks passed. Applications sent, calls made, interviews failed. Sarah's rent piled up. The groceries thinned. Lucas asked one night if his tummy could eat pretend dinner again. That broke her. Then came an email: receptionist needed. Flexible hours. Health benefits included. She almost didn't bother, she had faced too many closed doors. But she clicked apply anyway. The interview was at a non-profit organization called Rising Futures, which helped underprivileged youth gain access to education and mentorship. The office was in a modest brick building, nothing like the glass towers downtown. But something about it felt warmer. At the front desk, a young assistant greeted her with a smile that wasn't forced. "Mr. Ellis will be with you shortly." Sarah smoothed her blazer, her only one, borrowed from a friend, and tried not to think about Lucas sitting with a neighbor, hoping he wouldn't cry when she left. When Mr. Ellis walked in, Sarah stood quickly. She expected another cold suit and tie executive. But the man who approached her wore jeans, a rolled-up shirt, and a kind face etched with lines of experience. "Sarah, right? I'm Daniel Ellis, director here. Come, let's talk." He didn't ask stiff, corporate questions. He asked about her values, her journey. When she hesitated and confessed she had a young son and had lost her last job because of it, she braced herself. But Daniel simply leaned back, expression shifting from curiosity to something deeper, memory. He took a slow breath. "I was that kid," he said softly. "My mom brought me to her cleaning job when I was 6. I'd sit in a supply closet with crayons and crackers, waiting for her shift to end. One day, her boss fired her on the spot when he found me. Said I was a liability." He looked her in the eye. I remember the look on her face. I never forgot it. Sarah didn't know what to say. Daniel continued, "This place. Rising Futures. It exists because of that moment. Because no mother should have to choose between feeding her child and being there for him. He smiled, a quiet, honest smile. "You're hired, Sarah. And if you ever need to bring Lucas in, just make sure he brings enough crayons to share." That first week, Sarah brought Lucas on a Friday afternoon. He sat at a desk beside her, drawing superheroes while the office buzzed with energy and purpose. One of the interns brought him a juice box. Another offered him a tour. As weeks passed, Sarah flourished. Her empathy and work ethic made her indispensable. Lucas. He became a tiny mascot of hope in the office. People started joking he was the youngest employee on staff. One afternoon, Sarah stood by the office window, watching Lucas help restock shelves with other volunteers. Daniel came to stand beside her. "You know," he said, "we tell ourselves to keep work and life separate. But sometimes, life walks into work with a tiny backpack and a toothy smile and reminds us what we're really here for." Sarah turned, eyes misty. "Thank you," she whispered. "You didn't just give me a job. You gave us a future." Daniel shook his head. "No. You did that. I just recognized the fight in someone who refuses to give up. In a world that too often punishes the struggling, kindness is a revolution. And sometimes, the smallest hands can lead us to the biggest truths. Never underestimate the power of compassion, or the strength of a mother doing her best. What we do for others, especially when it's hard, ripples further than we ever imagine."